Welcome, Richard. Nice to see you here. We're going to give everyone a few more minutes to get started, and then we will hit record promptly at 12:30.
Okay, I'm back. We doing webcams or anything? We just sticking to slide deck.
You and Matt are welcome to turn on your webcams if you'd like, absolutely, as speakers.
Okay, I'll follow Matt.
I didn't put on my Data Vision shirt today, so I'm gonna keep it off.
Okay.
Branding's important, full support. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. We're going to start here in about 2 minutes. All right, so it is 12:30, so we're going to get started. First of all, thank you everyone who's attended and hanging out in our waiting room. Welcome to DataVision's webinar, The Simple Way to Assure Network and App Experiences. We have a great presentation for you today. First things first, a little bit of housekeeping. Your lunch gift card should be in your inbox, so please reach out to me in the chat window or email if you're missing your lunch order. Another great way to use your chat window is for questions. We will have a break during the presentation to cover any questions that come up throughout the webinar. And please don't forget, if you stay till the end, there will be a grand prize winner, and we're going to have a really fun announcement. The winner will take home their very own Aruba User Experience Insight Sensor with a 1-year subscription, which is a really cool prize. So, without further ado, let's get started. We are joined today by two undeniably talented individuals in the tech industry. Matt Len is an enterprise engineer here at DataVision, and Dustin Hopkins is an enterprise systems engineer with Aruba. Matt has been with DataVision since 2011 and is a part of the Aruba Ambassador Program since 2017. Dustin has been with Aruba since 2015 and manages the Nebraska and South Dakota territories. Both of these gentlemen live and breathe latest technology solutions. Take it away, Matt.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone. Really looking forward to today's session. This is one of my favorite products to talk about. It's been growing and improving almost on a daily basis for what it can do. So what we're going to talk about today is the Aruba User Experience Insight. The abbreviation for that is UXI. It's can be a bit of a tongue twister if you try to say that a lot. So, but these sensors, we're going to talk about all the features. What I'm really excited for is to get you into a demo of that. So got a great show and tell for you guys today, learn all about it, and hopefully at the end of it, you're interested to learn more and either do a personal demo or request a quote for these things. So as Rebecca mentioned, we will have time for a Q&A session. I've got a break kind of in the middle of this before we get to the demo, just to make sure everything's clear. And then certainly at the end of the session, if you guys have any information. So to start off with, so for the name of the product, the Aruba User Experience Insight sensor, really what this device is it's a physical device. So on the screen here, we've got the white, it looks just like an access point. The thing to note right off the bat is it's not broadcasting anything, and it will connect to the wired and wireless network just like a client will. So our whole goal of these is to start monitoring the networks, both wired and wireless, place it anywhere. And so with these, they're super simple to set up. They've got an LTE cellular connection to it. Also, you can power it through your network as well. So we'll talk about all those different options and the way that these can be used. But the main platform behind of it is cloud-based. So HPE Aruba purchased Cape Networks. I think it's been about 2.5 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And so the platform that we log into is still branded as Cape, but in the last 6 to 8 months, a year or so, they've switched the branding to the Aruba User Experience Insight. So with these products, being an AP cloud-based monitoring, what does that do for us? It's this cloud platform allows us to, it's a Linux-based, but allows us to get that user experience. So connecting to let's say the wireless network, we set it up to connect to all of your SSIDs, and then also on the wired side, these can be powered by PoE, or they can come with an AC adapter, as well as they have backup power. So if your network loses connection, it still has enough power to it to either kick off through cellular to say, hey, this site is down. So with the cellular, these things are literally we ship it to you, you take it out of the box, you give it power either by PoE or that AC adapter, and through the cellular connection, it's automatically going to get registered into the cloud platform for configuration. All right, so with it connecting, it does we have a couple different packet capture capabilities. And so where it's constantly, it's what we call the light PCAP, which it's constantly doing a packet capture. And as soon as we detect an issue with your network, it will automatically trigger that packet capture for the capture between the client, which would be this device, and the access point, as well as if it's connected to the wired Ethernet, it will send a capture of those frames as well. So,
And
yeah, go ahead.
Just to chime in real quick, one of the things that we keep talking about here, Matt, is the user experience, right? And having the ability to see what that's like in your environment is key, right? You can see here, Matt's got it right there, the end user experience. We're constantly looking at monitoring our network, and we monitor up down status of our switches and our APs and our routers, our DNS server, right? We've got all these monitoring solutions for the networking side of the house, but really what we're trying to get at here is being able to see what the end user's actual experience is. And then to Matt's point, if something goes wrong with that user experience, fire off that packet capture, right? Instantly on site in that spot, we can fire off that packet capture, which is something we haven't been able to do in the past, right? We generally don't have time when somebody calls and says, oh, the wireless is slow, to go out and actually experience that or get that packet capture. Now that's going to be fired off automatically for you and stored in the cloud for you to go and grab, if it happened last night or yesterday or, last week, right? Sometimes we get calls for things like that. And those packet captures will be stored for us in the cloud, and we can go back and look at those things as well.
Yep, and with the 24/7 connecting to the SSIDs, the wired network, we're doing checks about every 5 minutes throughout the product. So to Dustin's point, sending these out, place them in buildings, or if you're retail, shipping them out to the site, it's giving you now that visibility as to be more proactive as opposed to reactive of something's going on. So as I mentioned, simple to deploy, be proactive. The agnostics of this, we can start testing both internal network items. You can run ping test, web server application test, even from an external side. So as more and more applications are being moved to the cloud, you've got your Dropbox, your Box, your Facebook, your GitHub, Google, all these applications to the web. We want to be able to assure that those services are running as they should. So with the platform here, it's really made to give you a quick view. As soon as you log in, which we'll get to the demo here in a bit, it's going to give you that, hey, red's bad, green's good. We want to see a bunch of green, and if not, what is the problem, and how do we start diving into what's, why is something not behaving the way it should? With its diagnostics for troubleshooting. So for instance, if we, screen's a little hard to see, but for instance, if we have like a DHCP issue, it's gonna give us the analysis of every step of the way from when it tried to grab DHCP out to connections out to the network. And if it gets stuck along the way, it's going to say, this is where I failed. So, and I have a great demo of this piece.
And just to kind of talk about that a little bit further, as Matt mentioned, this is just simply a Linux client that connects to your network. So when you go in and look at that root cause analysis, you'll actually see the Linux commands that it runs, right? It's going to release and renew. You'll see that whole operation so that you can spit out those diagnostics and know why it failed and tell if it's legit or not, right? Because I'm actually seeing what test it tried to do. I can just spit it out basically in a shell format.
And if you guys have any questions along the way, definitely feel free to throw them in the chat. Dustin will be monitoring those as we go, and we'll make sure to get everything answered for you guys. So what I'd like to do as far as the demo, I want to give you a quick 5-minute overview of the dashboard, get you a little familiar with you know, kind of that front end and back end setup of this, and then we'll start diving into the troubleshooting and views and great, you know, where this product really comes to life. So from the start, as soon as we get logged in here, we're going to get an overview of all of the locations. So right now I am logged into the Aruba Seal Lab. So they've got a lot of sensors throughout the location, throughout the world here that we'll be able to see in a second. And then we build, on the left side, we create groups. So these groups could be, you know, based off a company, based off locations. And where we use the groups for is how we want to determine what SSIDs we want to be checking, what, you know, if we want to do Ethernet checks, and then also what internal and external services we want to be checking for. So if you do have, you know, hey, this is being deployed at, you know, site A, and site A has these on-site services and they do things a little differently than everybody else, we can configure those checks accordingly. So, you know, something's not showing dead just because it doesn't have the access. So as we hover, oh, good.
No, you're good. I was just going to talk a little bit more about this page and the meanings behind what you see there in the middle. You know, it's probably pretty obvious, but if you come off of it, you know, services or just your other services that you require to have your network functioning. Is the Wi-Fi up? Can I ping through Ethernet? Is my DHCP server responding, right? So it's constantly checking that DHCP server, and it's not only checking it, is it up, is it responding, but it'll also tell you things about latency, right? It's taken a long time to reach DHCP. DNS is up, yes, but the response is super long, so it can alert you to those things that you might not necessarily start with when you're troubleshooting. The internal, these are my internal servers. These are my web servers that I have on my network. This is, as you can see here, if you got ClearPass or anything like that, that's an internal service running in your network, we can check those things to make sure that they're happy. Last one over here is the external. You know, I'm maybe a Google Classrooms customer, or I'm more in the, you know, worried about my Dropbox or my GitHub, or even doing speed test out to speedtest.com or whatever it may be. You can see here, there's also some Zoom, right? We're all Zooming and Skyping and everything else. I want to make sure that I can reach those services and get good response from them, so that if somebody calls and has an issue, one, I may already know about it, to Matt's point about being more proactive, but two, I know where to start troubleshooting as well. I don't start at the laptop or the user, right? I can see, oh, we're having a slow response from O365. So maybe that's, you know, something on their end that I can get to the solution, or at least an answer, much quicker than I have in the past. And one of the things I talk about all the time with these sensors and with our other AI insights is we're trying to get to the mean time to innocence down, right? So whenever they call and say there's a network problem, maybe there is, maybe there's not, but here I can see, at least in this example, right away, I see I'm having problems with DHCP somewhere, right? And it's not necessarily the network that's having an issue.
Yep, and then also the nice view, being able to, you know, just at a quick glance. So with their Seal Lab here, we got several locations. You know, we can see, hey, there's 5 sensors here, 1 sensor, and so you know, have a problem, start narrowing in instantly of what's going on. If you do start getting into a lot of sensors, we can also do a couple more views of that, seeing the different sensors and their locations. And then you can also narrow in by the certain groups that you may have. So the other piece that I just wanted to show that's before I get into the settings piece here, one thing that I find extremely helpful is their little help desk here too. You click this green icon, it's on, it stays there, but you can find easy answers. Also, they have people that are live that are waiting for questions. I use this all the time. They respond within, they do respond within 5 minutes. Also, if you just need a quick hit of finding out what something means, I'm just going to type in lights here. Hey, what do all the different sensor lights mean on this thing? And so just it's a very user-friendly application to be working with. So I'm going to go into the settings piece here, just give you guys a little back-end piece of kind of the setup side, and then we'll dive into some troubleshooting. So here on the network side, this is where we do pre-configure the wireless SSIDs. And so we do support, so we'll select, if you have the sensor already at the location plugged in, it will actually show up in this list to choose from. So you don't have to manually type anything. It'll show up and say, show the SSID. You can then name it whatever you want, but then we do need to get it to connect. So whether it's an open network, a passphrase, or enterprise 802.1x, we support it all. The other thing to note is if you may even have a captive portal process on your guest network, we can run an extension where it records that process. We then send that up to the Cape networks here, and within a 48-hour turnaround time, they build that scripting process in the background, so we can even detect, hey, how's your captive portal and your guest network functioning from start to finish of the authentication process. So lots of advanced settings too. We can band lock it from 2.4 to 5 gigahertz, upload our server CA certificates, any types of proxies. So, and this is something that from a professional services standpoint, we help you with. So, and I can get into, kind of what that process looks like if you guys are interested in a sensor, but from start to finish, we make it extremely easy to get these things set up for you. So add a network. Once that network is in here, it'll be in an options list for us for the setup. We can also do this for the wired side. And then we have our different sensors where if we purchase one, if we did need to manually add it, I could click add into this section and get that into the list. This is where we configure our groups. So if I do create a group, maybe, Lincoln, Nebraska, click in here, I can then start adding my sensors. Based off of the cellular signal, it will automatically populate this for us on the map, so we don't have to manually tell it where we're at. The testing piece, this is where we're going to configure what we want to check for. So as I mentioned earlier, we're able to say what, based off of the group or the group, the wireless, if I just want this group to test a certain functionality, then I can start going in here and selecting, deselecting, and then based off of my selection up here, I can then turn it on or off of what I want to test for. Within all of our testing, our DHCP, DNS, RSSI, bitrate, all of these have predefined thresholds. That is the base setup for the product. So every customer environment is different. These settings are adjustable, but this is a good baseline to get us started here. So we can configure our thresholds for the wireless, the network, depending on DNS lookup times, high DHCP response times, our internal, hey, if we want to alert based off of a latency, a loss, jitter, our VoIP MOS score, very popular for when we want to start looking into that.
And one thing to note too is with the severity, you can also set up to trigger alerts, right? So you can get emails to your networking team, to your operations team, to your help desk, you name it. you can get notifications based on, hey, if it hits critical, I want to know about it without having to come and look at the dashboard to see that there is a problem going on. Let me know proactively.
Yep. And to that, we also have a regular hours time or after hours, depending on how your guys' help desk or support ticketing system works. And then if you guys have a distribution email address that you want to alert other than who's logged in, can certainly do that as well. Which then gets into our integrations. So if you guys have, from a webhook standpoint, already have Slack or ServiceNow or some other type of program where we can, we do have generic capabilities there to also work with other products that are not natively set in here. So get you more access there. And then if you guys may or may not be an Aruba Central customer today, managing all the instant access points, switching, we can now integrate these sensors into Central itself. So one of the main things to point out is that these sensors, it is a hardware tool that's just not for Aruba products, right? So you don't have to have Aruba Wireless. It works vendor agnostic, across the board there, and it's going to stay that way. So they, from the last I've heard, they do not have any intentions of eliminating this, the Cape Networks dashboard, but they then just allow the capabilities to integrate directly into Central. So if you are a customer, you don't have to have those two different dashboards.
And the key to that, if you take a close look at that URL, it's simply the API gateway. It's something that we have been building everything around, whether it's our switching, our controllers, ClearPass, these guys, and Central as well. The integrations are all because we have open APIs for everything on the back end, which allows us to do integrations not only with our products, but other third-party products as well. So to Matt's point about vendor agnostic, yes, because it's just a client on your network, it can work anywhere, but the integrations with the API gateway go a long way with creating the smooth workflow that works best for you.
Yep. And then just the last couple of things here, my profile, that's just for the company. The team is just where you add whoever needs access, you put in their name, their email address, and it will then automatically send them an invite to get to the dashboard. And then also with some permission-based as well. All right, so diving into the troubleshooting side of things. I've picked out a couple things to take a look at here. So we're going to dive into the Central Seal Lab devices here. So they've got sensor 2 and sensor 7 doing some wireless testing. And one of the things is that we've noticed that there was a no response from the DHCP server. So I'm just hovering over. If I want to click further into that, it's now going to give me all the statistics about what's going on. Right now, paying attention to the top right here, I'm set for the last 24 hours. We can get up to 30 days of history as these things are running. The other nice thing is if we do find a spot within the 24 hours, if we want to go less than that, hey, the last hour, 3 hours, we can also even narrow in down to the minutes, and we just basically click and drag through, and then it's going to narrow into what happened there. Okay, if we want to go further, I guess on the right side here, it's going to tell us our response time. So we'll start seeing a lot more graphs of how that's working, and then we can start narrowing in even further, where it's going to give us that view of what's happening. All right, so we associated, no DHCP offer received. Now, if I click the plus sign, now I'm getting into even more in depth of the DHCP process there.
And another thing to note there is that when you're looking at it, you can see right away whether it happened in the past or whether it is ongoing, right? So currently, this is still a problem. So we would want to, be sure that we dove into that if we were to, potentially get a call, or we happen to be in here, or we receive that email. We can go straight to that ongoing problem that is happening right at this point.
Yep. And then also the amount of times. So these ones were resolved, but hey, this has been a pretty ongoing issue. So definitely need to start looking into that. Okay, I've got my own little demo set up my house here. So I've got a sensor sitting on my desk connected to the network, and I've got some ongoing DNS issues. I've also, another thing, I've got my own even iPerf server set up here to where it's going to be running constant checks and then our checks out to the external side. So clicking into, there's just a lot of places to click, but clicking into the sensor directly, I'm able to see my SSIDs that I've got set up, the current ongoing issue that I certainly need to investigate and figure out what's going on. I've got a high DNS lookup time. Again, we can narrow in, but then I've also got another SSID being broadcasted. Looks like the same issue. So, and then the Ethernet side of the network. So last night I did reboot my network. So I've got an outage here where it says internal service is unavailable. And then I was getting this lab set up here. So I've got a couple more outages and then where it's coming back.
And one thing to note is that while Matt is hovering over any of the graphs, it will also hover over the other graphs at the exact same correlating time so that you can see, oh, Ethernet dropped, or my response times jumped up here or there. I could see the Wi-Fi. As you can see here, channel utilization, which band you're on, which channel, so that you can quickly look at the associated response time or client or user experience during that time of either warning or outage. So just wanted to point that out, that it hovers over those exact times for you to correlate that for you.
Yep. Now, if I scroll down even further, more actions, there's some raw data download. I think it puts it in Excel format, if I remember that correctly. And then I can also trigger a direct, hey, I want to take a packet capture right now, which will allow us, as soon as I click that, take a couple minutes, and then it'll be a section for us to download. I can see my the sensor information right away, the MAC address. One nice thing is if you ever need to poke around or search other places, pay attention to the locations. It's got a copy there, right? So I don't have to try to highlight and everything. A quick copy, bam, got it. Can, if you need to reference it somewhere else, really saves a lot of headache with that copy and paste. The other thing that we have the ability to do is we can see all of the SSIDs around us. So the ones in blue are the ones that we do have a connection to, but being that I have multiple access points in the network, I can also lock in to a specific BSSID if I want to only perform testing, in that scenario. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see here. Go back to the external side. So if we want to take a look at how the applications are doing, again, same type of information, how the status is doing, latency, packet loss, jitter. Once we start getting into, even VoIP deployments, being able to see the MOS score and any latency, jitter, also applications out to Teams, just really good insight too.
And as we look at that, Matt, if you go back real quick, you can see about the test, and you can see that test was checking 80 and 443, right? So those are the typical ones. That's just part of the built-in test, right? You can just go in and select the application, and it's got some standard tests already there. But you can also do customs, and you can change. So if you've got a site or an internal service that may need, different ports to check, right? You can go through and create those guys as well, picking the exact port that you want to be testing on. Some of your internal services may be something more than 80 and 443. You may not care about pings, but so these are some of the customizations that you can do with your internal and external templates and tests.
Yep. The other thing I do want to point out that is it's currently still being further developed, but they have it in a beta format right now. It's called the web application testing. And that's where we can now not only doing the, hey, is this port, open and pings reading, but hey, how is this service able when I go to log into it? So logging into Office 365, Salesforce, you name it. I'm currently getting that enabled in my lab right now. You just got to put in, if you do have the user experience insight, you just got to put in the request and then they'll enable it for you. But it is still in beta. It's being certainly improving upon. But how we handle that feature is there's a Chrome extension called Selenium. And what we do is we basically, we run the Selenium application through the extension, and then we perform that action. So we're gonna, log into Office 365. It counts all of your clicks, what you're inputting, and then it creates a download file, which then we'll be able to upload to this service. Then on a interval of every 5, 15, 20, 30 minutes, however often you want it to check, it's gonna run that process to verify that, hey, my logins are working. And that'll work both internal and externally. So if you have any specific applications that are very critical to your business, we will now be able to start getting that visibility into its service. So also all the documentation, everything built into the product, very easy to search, wander upon here. Yeah, Dustin, did I miss anything?
No, sir. I think you did a great job covering everything. We hit the experiences, the services, internals, externals, and all of the customization of the tests, and even including some of the new beta products coming out. Great job.
Great. I do want to let you guys know that they did just release a new series of these Insight sensors. So that's going to be the G5E. So this is just an Ethernet based, which does not have cellular built into it. Then they got the G5C for the cellular. And, if I had to choose, I'd certainly say that the cellular can certainly make things a lot easier, just depending on that, how you want to deploy it, and Data Vision and Aruba can certainly help you choose the right sensor. And then the F5 series is an older series. So moving forward, the G5C and G5E is most likely what I'd recommend to the customers. But I've got a nice little slide here of just their different capabilities and options. They all come with mounting kits. They come with even some stickies that you can quickly place these on the wall, or we want these to be on desk. We want them to be near where your typical clients are for the best reporting of what that client experience is. All right. Just wanted to just kind of reiterate, why Data Vision. I've been working with the products personally for the last 10 years. It's what we do. We are heavily involved in a Aruba HPE. As they're extremely expanding their portfolio, we've got Aruba Central, their Aruba OS switching line. A lot of on-site, on-staff expertise in all areas. So over 35 years plus of Aruba experience, heavily certified into the products. No job is too big, too small. We do a ton of enterprise deployments, but even down to the small, small, medium business there, no job is too big or too small for us. So we sell it, we design it, sell it, deploy it, and also we support it. We do a lot of managed services for those that may not have the IT staff available. Certainly reach out to any of us, and we're happy to see how we can fit.
And I'll just chime in real quick too. Just from my perspective, you guys, there's nothing on this slide that's not 100% true. And these guys not only are a platinum partner in sales, but in my opinion, you guys are a platinum partner in engineering too. And that's key to getting these deployments off the ground, managing your network for you, helping you guys out along the way. Trouble tickets come in, bang, these guys are on the phone ready to help you out right away.
Great. We've got a couple minutes. If there's any questions, happy to answer that.
I do have a pre-submitted question here from some of our attendees. One of the questions is, what does the deployment model look like in enterprise versus K through 12?
Certainly. So for these sensors, buy one, buy as many. What we're often seeing, being that it's all about the user experiences, whether enterprise or K through 12 there, a lot of times the IT staff will, have one in their tool bag. Hey, getting complaints, from a teacher, this or that, this area is not, hey, I've got problems with, hard to troubleshoot, just go, take one of these sensors and place it there for a couple days, let it collect the data and start analyzing, reporting and, even triggering actions if there is an issue. So very helpful from a K through 12. But often we're seeing that a lot of customers will place one in a building and, throughout their setup and either migrate them around or have them there permanently. So it gives you really helpful for the locations that you just don't have that visibility into today. Again, being more proactive than reactive. From an enterprise standpoint or, retail location, definitely one in they'll kind of say, hey, we like to have one of these and, tied to each switch stack, closet, building, floor level, things like that, so that if there is an issue, you can pinpoint it a lot faster.
Yeah, and I would suggest too that it's the ultimate flexibility, right? So to Matt's point, you can have one that floats around just to where the problem areas are at, or if you have a large building and you want to know the experience for users all over the place, you could deploy these, one per every 5 APs, right? So now I have these little cells of clients that are always collecting data for me to ensure that, maybe it's just the C-suite. Maybe it's just, like Matt said, to retail locations. I've just got one in each of my restaurants, or one in each of my stores. You can constantly have that information feeding in, or you can just have the one that's a floater and you take it where you need it and get that information, because sometimes clients are having a problem, but it's sporadic and you can't ever catch it. With this guy sitting out there soaking up all the data, you can get that information much quicker.
Nice, perfect. And then I have one more. What does the sensor, or does the sensor look rogue in our management tools?
Nope. So since these guys are not broadcasting an SSID or BSSID, these guys are just sitting out there like clients on your network. Like we said, so that's all it's doing is just monitoring and associating. So whenever you look into your monitoring tools, you'll just see it as another client on your network. So you won't have any problems with, looking like rogues and causing alerts in another area where we wouldn't want them. So these guys are just hanging out and would be reported as an additional client on your network.
Awesome, thank you. It looks like David's raising his hand. Let's see here. I can unmute, yeah, if you have a question, David.
Hey, this is Dave Larson with LCS. Had a couple questions. The first one, probably a more pressing issue, is just I had a thought of, we would probably want to use this to test access to both electronic medical record systems and electronic health record systems. And I just wondered what what kind of HIPAA guidelines or safeguards are in place, and any kind of documentation or BAA for anything like that.
So Dave, I don't know of anything off the top of my head, but I'll certainly ping the team and see what sort of documentation we have for HIPAA compliance. I'm sure it's out there, right? We do a lot of business with healthcare industry. But off the top of my head, I don't have a document specific for you, but okay. I can get it for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I don't imagine it does anything beyond, the login page.
Right.
So even with, you go to the Selenium IDE level, probably just logging in and not recording anything else, but probably something we would need to have.
Okay.
The other one is more, what's that?
Well, I was just going to say that, yeah, I mean, the only part that I guess would really need any real documentation, to your point, was the Selenium side where we're capturing that login. But it's not going to do anything beyond that, assuming you don't tell it to, right?
Sure. Okay. The other one is more from a testing standpoint. We whitelist our community's public IP addresses to access some of our applications. So I'm having a bit of a challenge working from home with testing because my IP is not whitelisted, and I can connect to a VPN from home, but that's on my PC. Is there any way to run the UXI device, the sensor, over a VPN?
So yeah, I mean, I don't see why not, right? If it's connected to that network, it's just gonna go whatever way it has to go down and test these devices. I can't say that I've tried it,
Okay.
but certainly a good use case as we continue to send folks to the house, or I guess we're not sending them anymore. We're still there. We never went back.
Yeah.
In most cases. So great use case. So that'll be another one I'll have to validate before I say 100%. But I don't see what would stop it from working via that VPN.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure. I mean, without having any sort of like firewall equipment at home, to run the VPN, uses like a VPN endpoint. Just trying to figure out how I can do that with just kind of a, your basic home network. But worst case scenario is I could probably get myself whitelisted, but just something I was curious about.
And so I'm kind of thinking through what use case are you thinking of for a test?
So we have, let's go with, one of our EMR platforms. We use one called MyUnity, and so that website will only accept traffic from whitelisted public IPs. So, looks for that egress IP before allowing access. So I'm just trying to figure out, it'd be great to get a test built for all those applications and test from home. Granted, sure, if I can't do that, I can work around it, but I was just curious if there was a way to do it.
So what if it's just deployed on site where there is, I mean, I guess.
It could be, yeah. And in a normal situation, it would be at a site that has a whitelisted IP, like a community, or the
Right.
home office has whitelisted IPs. So that's kind of where my thinking was going with the VPN, is if
Gotcha.
I'm VPN'd into the home office, you know, on my work PC, I can access those websites. I'm just trying to figure out how to direct the sensor that same
Sure.
way, if there's a way I can somehow build it to the sensor,
Sure.
but
Yeah, David, this is Matt. I'll certainly follow up with you. We'll get on another session and hash through all the details to see what we can do for you.
okay, yeah, sounds good. Probably getting a little deep there. So thanks for your time, guys.
No, thank you.
No, love the good question. So we're right at time. I can, unless there are any other questions, I'll announce our grand prize winner. Congratulations, Ryan Sinwell. We will be in touch with you via email to get you set up with your sensor. Thank you so much for everyone who attended. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you will get a follow-up recording shortly.
Thanks everybody.